We are now being joined by Gautam Chikermane, Executive Editor Business at the Hindustan Times, and also by Dr Amit Mitra, Secretary General of FICCI. And in a couple of minutes, I'm going to turn to those two questions that we've asked at Hindustan Times and NDTV and the results for that. But first, if I could just ask both of you to tell us what you think the key issues in this budget. What is it that you really think we should be looking for in the budget?
I think we should look at ways and means by which inflation is going to get under control, because that's, I think, a big problem, particularly food inflation. Although there is very little room for maneuver over there, because prices are up because of they are up globally, from steel to oil and so on to food itself.
Okay.
The second is, in the process of controlling inflation, we need to watch out for growth being compromised.
Okay.
And that's a tricky thing.
Inflation and don't hurt growth, that's what you would say. Before I come to the results of the poll, what would your snap feeling be?
I think the key is the growth momentum has to be kept up. It's interesting that fiscal deficit is down to 5.5%, which was much higher, 6.7% last year. Revenue deficit, which should have been zero really, is down to 4%. So there is headroom there. Tax, can you believe that the corporate tax is 40.4% growth this year? Excise grew by 29.4%, customs by 36%. These things indicate to me that perhaps there's some headroom for maintaining growth, which ultimately leads to employment.
So keep growth going and the money automatically keeps coming in is what I think you seem to be saying. But let's just turn now to the Hindustan Times, NDTV poll, the budget poll. And here's the first question that we asked all of you. Then that question was, what is the most important issue the finance minister should address in his budget? Prices growth, growth in the economy, job creation. And here are the results of the poll. The number of people who said prices was 57%. People who said growth in the economy, 13%. Job creation, 10%. Betterment of the poor was 20%. So that pretty much matches inflation and betterment to the poor. That's what the result seems to be really showing as the key things. Would you?
Yeah.
That matches what
actually,
you're saying.
I found that a little surprising, that we expected that not just 57%, maybe 80 or 90% would say that inflation is the biggest worry, because it is. But it seems not to be the case. What is even more surprising is that economic growth is not number two.
Yeah.
Number two is betterment of the poor, which means
growth in the economy is number 3 and job creation is number 4.
Right.
But number 1, prices with 57%.
How I read this is that our stomachs are full. Ours means the readers of Hindustan Times and viewers of NDTV. The stomachs are full, and we are looking at they are looking at the poor who need a helping hand. So tomorrow, on 28th, when Pranab Mukherjee presents his budget, I don't think many howls are going to come because economic growth was compromised at the cost of controlling inflation.
So this is what as he said, these are readers of Hindustan Times and viewers of NDTV and people who logged on to ndtv.com. But inflation, I had to ask you this question, can the finance minister actually in the budget do anything about inflation, other than maybe he can slash duties on a number of things, fuel prices, for example, or others?
I think he could do also something on subsidy. That's the worry. Because subsidy has more or less maintained itself in an even keel of 10% of spending year after year. If he picks that up and targets certain areas, that'd be interesting. Question is, last year he gave agriculture very important space. Is he going to do that this year? Infrastructure. I don't know why people have not responded with infrastructure and social inclusion.
But
very, very
the interesting thing, Dr. Mitra, is, and this is what Gautam was saying, that 20% of people responded to say betterment to the poor. There was a time, if you remember, 8-9 years ago, where if a finance minister did something for poverty alleviation or for the poor, people would howl and say, this is a populist budget. Now people seem to feel you should do that. Maybe better and more targeted delivery, but they don't seem to think it's a bad idea.
I think the part
and this is as I said, this is a certain section.
But I think it's partly coming from what happened with Nitish Kumar. What did he do? He built rural roads. I mean, it's fired the imagination of the country that unless the poor are with us, this democracy could become what you've seen elsewhere in the world.